Story 1. As I get older, the amount of time that it is fun becomes shorter, and the amount of hangover and recovery time increases. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. I am strangely comforted to hear how many people experience this too, and amazed at the few people who think I have never thought of moderation and drinking water. Story 2. I already drank my lifetime supply. Honestly, I am surprised there is any left for the rest of you. Story 3. The reasons I tell myself are that my mother was an alcoholic, I hate who I am and how I feel, and I am a binge drinker. In my younger years, I was a borderline alcoholic. I stopped for a few years and then was able to have 1 or 2 drinks. The last 3 times I drank, I disappeared for several days and lost a job. I have been clean for 11 months. Story 4. I cannot drink like a normal person, and it is better for me if I do not even try. Story 5. I was an alcoholic until my first child was born. Then my wife sat me down and said that if I did not get my drinking under control, she would go back to Japan with our new son. She still went back to Japan, but she has taken me along. It has been 5 years now. I have not had a drop since then. I do not miss it. We have 2 wonderful sons and a house of our own. Story 6. I really have no moral objection. I just never developed a taste for it. I have tried them all: beer, wine, and hard liquor. The only thing I can stomach is certain cocktails, usually those flavored so much they bury the alcohol taste. I figure if I need to go that far just to disguise the fact I am drinking alcohol, I might as well not drink it at all. Story 7. Acid reflux, gastroesophageal reflux disease, irritable bowel syndrome, gastrointestinal functional disorder. Story 8. I regularly drank from age 14 to 27. At 27, I suffered traumatic brain injury and spent more than 6 months in the hospital. Then, I had to go to a physical rehabilitation facility and nursing home. They told me that if I drank heavily like I used to, I could undo all the progress I had made and return to being a zombie in a nursing home for the rest of my life. I miss it every day. I have heavily considered finding other substances to abuse regularly. But here I am, sitting on the couch with a bottle of pain medication from a dental procedure less than 5 feet from me, and I am just petting this small dog instead. Story 9. Cocaine always seemed to magically find its way into my pocket after 3 drinks. Those cocaine fairies are the real evil. I have been clean for over a year now. I have an amazing family that means the world to me. I wouldn't change a thing. Story 10. Gives me a headache. Interrupts my sleep too much. Makes me tired. Makes me anxious the next day. Yes, I am old now. Story 11. Countless reasons. It is a known carcinogen in any amount. I do not want unnecessary substances harming my body. It impairs your judgment. I make bad enough decisions without any drugs. I do not have any desire to use anything to feel good. I already feel fine as I am. I do not care about fitting in. I do not attend parties where everyone is drinking, but even if I did, I would not care if they thought I was weird for not drinking. It is expensive. I do not have money to spend on unnecessary drinks. It is addicting. I have multiple alcoholic relatives, 2 of whom died due to drinking, and an alcoholic friend. I do not want to end up like them. It has side effects. Why would I want hangovers, vomiting, and similar issues? It can cause embarrassment and impairment. I do not want that either. Story 12. My stomach cannot handle it anymore. 1 drink is all it takes to make my stomach turn and ruin the rest of my day. Story 13. It is amazing how many times this question gets asked. Alcohol is so ingrained in our culture that we are considered unusual for not drinking. That is ridiculous. Story 14. I was suffering from severe anxiety and panic attacks starting 2 years ago, and wanted to treat my body as best as I could after that. Since then, I rarely drink. I never order drinks when I'm out, only cocktails, and have a glass of wine at home maybe once every other month. The feeling of being able to get up early, not feel hungover, and having energy for the day easily outweighs the nights of drinking for me. Story 15. Commercial driver's license. Any alcohol means I cannot drive. When I started out, I was on call, standby. The company calls me 2 hours before departure. If I am having a drink while barbecuing in my backyard, I have to turn down the work. Could be another week before I am called again. Any ticket for anything in my vehicle counts as points against my commercial driver's license. Coffee and iced tea became my drinks of choice. It has been 35 years now. Story 16. My parents are alcoholics, and that contributed to my difficult childhood. No thank you. Story 17. I always overdo it because one drink feels like a waste. There are so many empty calories. Story 18. I am pregnant. However, I have an addictive personality and cannot drink casually. I go too hard too quickly because it feels good, and then I become drunk, blackout, and sloppy. Adding my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder makes it messy, along with trauma. Story 19. The thought of losing my inhibitions scares me. I take a lot of medication and I do not know how safe it would be to mix. Alcoholism runs in my family. New experiences frighten me. Story 20. I have not drunk alcohol in nearly 25 years. When you wake up in the morning and decide a glass of rum is better than a cup of tea to get you going, you need to make a serious life choice. So I did. Story 21. The anxiety. The next day, I always wake up feeling terribly anxious or depressed. It is a depressant, so the dopamine crash makes sense. Story 22. Calories are too high. Non-alcoholic beer is within the budget. Story 23. I swore an oath when I was a kid that I would never smoke or drink. More than 20 years later, I am still going strong. Story 24. I crave more and more, and it makes me feel depressed at the same time. Story 25. Does not taste great, is bad for health, and is extremely expensive. Story 26. I use psychedelic mushrooms. Why would I drink something that 1. Tastes unpleasant, 2. Makes me feel unwell, 3. Has a lot of calories and affects your appearance negatively? Story 27. I am clearly allergic, and if I consume alcohol, I skip the part where people report feeling good and go straight to feeling sick. This happens after maybe a single drink. Story 28. 1. My anxiety can increase when I am drunk or the next day. 2. I do not fully recover from a big night for a couple of days. The payoff is not worth the consequence. 3. By being in control of my drinking, rather than letting it control me, it leads to other benefits of self-control and self-improvement in my life. I know I can accomplish the things I want to do. It is powerful. Story 29. I cannot be bothered honestly. I do not see the point of having just one or two unless it is something interesting and new I want to try. I also do not want to get drunk, have a hangover the next morning, and waste a whole day feeling terrible. Story 30. I decided that dying from drinking was a pathetic way to go. There are many more exciting ways to die, and I wanted to try one of those instead. Maybe get trampled during the running of the bulls or crash trying to jump a snowmobile over 10 school buses. Something like that. Story 31. Do I need a reason? People see drinking alcohol as the default. Story 32. I find alcohol amplifies my mood. If I am happy, then I am a great drunk. But right now, I am in a dark place, and I do not want it to get any darker. It is a little scary. Story 33. I have high blood pressure. That is a good reason not to drink too much. Story 34. Since developing long COVID, which I refer to as 8 chronic illnesses in a trench coat, drinking at all now makes me feel very unwell. Therefore, I do not drink. Story 35. I just did not feel like drinking anymore. It happened abruptly. Story 36. I drink only minimal amounts for social reasons. A week ago, we had an office party, and I drank so little that I had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.0 when the police stopped me and administered a breathalyzer test 5 hours later when I went home. The main reason I don't drink much is that my father drank himself to death. I also had one really bad experience decades ago when I was lonely and drank a whole bottle of some strange homebrewed wine. I then threw up all over the room, on the walls, and destroyed my laptop and mattress in the process. I couldn't remember anything the next day. I think I'm lucky I didn't die from asphyxiation. Story 37. The thought of waking up and taking care of my 3 little kids hungover is my idea of hell on earth. I get horrible hangovers and it just stopped being worth it. Story 38. Literally everything in my life is easier and better. My depression and anxiety are completely gone. I look and feel a million times better. I stopped eating terrible food. I stopped doing things I hate or being around unpleasant people that alcohol allowed me to cope with. I don't lose days to hangovers anymore. Story 39. It does nothing but hurt your body. There is no reason to drink it. Story 40. Pricing and tax. I used to drink a lot before I moved to Singapore. Now I only drink when I am out of Singapore or when I come back from another place and buy alcohol at the duty-free shop when passing through the airport. Story 41. My partner is a recovering alcoholic, and it is out of respect for him. Also, I do not really enjoy it anymore. Story 42. Diabetes. My blood sugar was 350 the morning after my last cocktail. Story 43. I would become very depressed for days afterward and finally told myself to stop putting myself through this nonsense. Story 44. I'm a Buddhist, and intoxication is not really encouraged. I am also such a lightweight that one drink gets me drunk. I have about one drink every 4 to 6 months. Nothing excessive. The last time was in June because I was in Las Vegas for someone's birthday. Story 45. I totaled 3 Dodge Chargers in less than 1 year while financing each. This damaged my credit. On the last one, I received my first and last ever driving while intoxicated DWI charge. I am a 49-year-old male and a former state and federal employee. While losing every good job I ever had, I made it through this year on suspension by catching rideshare services or walking to jobs. I also worked 4 weeks at Lowe's to maintain rent. Yes, rent. I own nothing but have a smart child who will be successful. I pray to Jesus when times get difficult, wondering what to do next when challenges arise. I am fighting through this mess that I created for myself, which definitely included alcohol. I had my first drink before or after work, then added more, eventually getting in cars and wrecking them. I totaled not only material things but also briefly disrupted the lives around me. I pray when I need to because someone or something answers if you put in the work to help yourself by fighting alongside what we call positivity. Put down things that cause damage and do something rewarding. Story 46. Never saw the enjoyment in it. As a 23-year-old, I have obviously had my fair share of drinks, but the taste always turned me away. Story 47. Get red as a tomato, and my heart beats a little too fast for my liking, even when drinking a tiny bit. Story 48. It killed my grandfather at 65, my father at 63, my sister at 30, one of my best friends at 41, and landed me in jail twice. Story 49. It tastes unpleasant. I have never been intoxicated or even under the influence in my life. Every alcoholic drink I have ever tried, I either spit out or did not take a second sip. Story 50. It tastes terrible and is extremely unhealthy. I dislike lying in bed while everything spins. I hate feeling sick the next day. Overall, it was a bad experience. I prefer cannabis. Story 51. Last time, it caused me 2 kidney stones despite drinking water, resulting in a month of agony and 2 surgeries because the first one failed. Technically, since I hardly ever drank water, it led to this condition. It went from no pain in my kidney to unbearable agony. I have not had a sip since. Story 52. Alcohol makes my chest feel really tight, like I am going to have a heart attack, so it makes drinking very unpleasant. Story 53. Hangovers. I just cannot handle feeling so terrible the day after. Story 54. I had a liver and kidney transplant due to a genetic disease. No alcohol for me. Story 55. It makes me sad the day after. I also do not enjoy how it makes me feel. Despite reducing my social anxiety, it makes me even louder and weirder. I will still have a taste here and there, but I am loving the rise in mocktail culture. No, I do not want a sugary soda. I want a drink with a flavor profile and maybe a little treat on top. Story 56. I have almost killed myself drinking. I have ruined relationships, my job, and my health. Staying sober is worth it. Story 57. I talk a lot and open up even after a single drink. Story 58. Vomiting blood. I have cirrhosis of the liver. A friend told me the liver has 500 functions, and alcohol attacks everyone. I managed to stop overnight 14 years ago. I don't want to strain the National Health Service more than I do. I was very fortunate to be able to stop when others find it hard to let go. Story 59. My body cannot handle it. I gained so much weight, even drinking spirits neat. I quit drinking last Christmas and started exercising. I have lost 110 pounds this year. I cannot wait to change the family Christmas photo at my house. Story 60. Life in a tavern is not like the TV show Cheers. Dad owned a country tavern, and we lived in an apartment above it during the 1970s into the early 1980s. Many of the customers were parents of school classmates as well as neighbors, teachers, the bus driver, policemen, and others. Would you believe it? The farmers and others would be lined up at 8 a.m. waiting for Dad to open the doors. They would have a few drinks, then return to work, come back late morning, then lunch, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, and then wind down in the evening. Professional drinkers. The school bus driver would sit in the bar drinking between his morning and afternoon runs. By the time I left for college, I had seen enough bar fights, emergency ambulances, car accidents, divorces, 2 shootouts, one of which resulted in a bullet entering our apartment. A stabbing, parking lot fights, multiple break-in robberies while we slept upstairs, men losing entire paychecks on Friday night to the barkeep and gambling, and more. The patrons seemed elderly but were mostly in their 50s and 60s, younger than my current age. These men were in rough physical shape. A handful of them died from ailments seemingly from a different century, such as tuberculosis, or from drunkard stupidity, such as slowly rotting from the inside out due to years of ingesting agricultural chemicals, and, of course, farm machinery accidents. At college, I saw more than a few classmates become lifelong drunks, as well as co-workers. For what it is worth, I am not a complete teetotaler, but the concept of drinking culture does not impress me. Story 61. I am an alcoholic in recovery, and after my last relapse, they said, "Your pancreas is inflamed and inches away from pancreatitis. Once that happens, your liver will start hardening. This is your last chance. Stop drinking alcohol." Story 62. My wife is pregnant, which means that I am pregnant too. Story 63. I partied like a rock star until I had children. I toned it down a bit until I was diagnosed with cancer. I am now cancer-free, but I only have a social drink once a month, if that. I really need to quit, but my husband does not like to drink alone. Story 64. I quit because it became all I did and the main thing I thought about all day. It was harmful to my health. I went from liking the feeling to realizing that I no longer had a choice. I had to drink. Quitting was hard, but my life is great now. I have been sober for 20 years and do not miss that burden. Story 65. It interferes with my epilepsy medication and increases my risk of seizures. Story 66. I am on a medication that I cannot drink alcohol with, so when asked, it is always a good excuse. Also, before the medication, I did not really like alcohol anyway. Story 67. Coming from a long line of alcoholics, mine was genetic. Even though I passed out every night in bed with my teeth brushed and pajamas on, I could not moderate my intake, even by drinking only beer. I began losing good jobs. Then my father got sober through Alcoholics Anonymous. He made sure I saw his recovery even though we lived 3,000 miles apart. When he was 18 months sober and a different man, he gave me a copy of Alcoholics Anonymous. While reading it, I came to realize what I was, but more importantly, that there was a clear program of recovery. If my dad could get sober, anyone could get sober. Signed, sober 43 years, one day at a time, through the grace of God and through the power I found in the program of recovery in that book. Bring the body, the mind will follow. Story 68. I didn't care for getting drunk. It worked out for my friends because I was always the designated driver and made sure everyone got home. I prefer using cannabis. Story 69. I just don't like the taste. Can act as a social lubricant if you're anxious around people, but I feel it's better to face my fears. I have also seen the effects of alcoholism on people. Story 70. Son of an alcoholic, so I was always sensitive to it. In spite of that, I had too many close calls. I have been sober for 18 months now. Story 71. I have grown up around individuals with alcohol use disorder. I have seen what it does to people and no thank you. Additionally, I have a fear of vomiting. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.